Hello students, welcome back to our channel Deep Logic. So today we are going to learn third maintenance process, that is transportation. Firstly we will learn in human beings, then we will go for plants. We know that when we heard the word transportation in human beings, that is transported by the blood, with the help of blood. What is blood? Blood is a specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue, right? कनेक्टिव टिश्यू इसमें क्या क्या आता है, मतलब एरियोलर टिश्यू, एडिपोज टिश्यू, कार्टिलेज, बोन एंड ब्लड. बट कार्टिलेज, बोन एंड ब्लड इज देयर ना, दे आर स्पेशलाइज्ड कनेक्टिव टिश्यू विल कॉल, विच यू विल लर्न फर्दर इन क्लास 11th. ओके, ब्लड में दो चीज़ें होता है, विच इज़ वन थिंग इज प्लाज्मा एंड द अदर इज ब्लड सेल्स. ब्लड सेल्स. Plasma is of more quantity, which is 55%, and blood cells is 45. Okay, in blood cells में क्या क्या होता है? RBC होता है, red blood cells, WBC, white blood cells and platelets, है ना. But most of the transportation like food, carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste is transported by plasma itself. Within the dissolved form it will transfer, and the oxygen is carried out by the pigment, which is hemoglobin, which is present in the upper part of the red blood cells, है ना. And also with the help of that also there are other materials also transported. For example, like salts is also transported by the blood. Okay, you can imagine in a home we have to transfer water from the ground floor to first floor. What we will use? We will use मोटर, है ना. सो हमारे बॉडी में भी मोटर होना चाहिए ना, इसलिए मोटर यहाँ पर हार्ट. वी नीड अ पंपिंग ऑर्गन विच इज़ हार्ट, है ना. हार्ट के बारे में हम ज़्यादा सीख लेंगे अभी. So this is our heart. The size of the heart will be as of our fist, and this is one of the muscular organ, है ना. The heart is divided into 4 chambers because heart does not want the mixing between a oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood. And how the motor is connected to the pipes in our home, and in the same way the heart is connected to the some of the tubes. The tubes may be arteries, veins or capillaries, which we will learn further. First we will study the simplified diagram of the heart, then we will come to this one. Okay, the oxygen comes from the lungs to the heart to the chamber called left atrium. Okay, from left atrium it will flow towards the left ventricle, then to the body. फ्रॉम बॉडी से क्या होता है? राइट एट्रियम आता है, राइट एट्रियम से राइट वेंट्रिकल. राइट वेंट्रिकल, it's very simple that you draw a square, divide into 4 chamber. Okay, why we have to divide into 4 chamber? Because a heart does not want there is a mixture between oxygen and deoxygenated blood together. For that purpose the 4 chambers are there, and we will come to know how it is distinguished, है ना. So the first pipe is the pulmonary vein, that is between the lungs and the left atrium. From left atrium to left ventricle there is a valve. There are 2 valves, so we will call this valve as bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve. And from left ventricle to the body, that is done by aorta. From body to the again to the right atrium, that is done by vena cava. If this is a human being, the heart is here. There is also blood which is deoxygenated from the brain also, and from the toes also, and this all the part. The blood which is coming from the upper part of the heart, we call that as a superior vena cava. That is done by the pipe called superior vena cava. And from toes also it is deoxygenated blood is coming to the heart, so that is inferior vena cava. Okay, and from right atrium to right ventricle there are 3 valves. So what we call that as tricuspid valve, and from right ventricle to again to the lungs, that is done by pulmonary artery. You have to remember one more thing, that is if you draw the line like this, the right part will be oxygenated blood and the left part will be deoxygenated blood. Okay, why the valve should be there? Because if you have put the blood in a forward way, it should not again come to the backward chamber. So to prevent the backward flow, the valves are very much important between the one atrium to one ventricle. Okay, fine, yes. And you should also remember, if this is a chamber, if the blood is coming to it, then this chamber have to be in a relaxed form. Okay, if already the blood is there in the chamber, it have to pump to the another chamber, means then this chamber have to contract and this chamber have to be in a state called relaxed state. Okay, fine. And also one more thing, that is there are tubes called arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, arteries generally transport oxygenated blood and veins generally transport deoxygenated blood and capillaries transport the mixture of it. Okay, mixture of it. But here there is an exception. Yes, arteries transport the oxygenated blood, but there is an exception, pulmonary artery, which is transporting deoxygenated blood. Okay, and also there is an exception for the veins also. Veins generally transport what? Deoxygenated blood, but here it is transporting the oxygenated blood. Okay, remember that from lungs to the left atrium, the blood goes with the help of pulmonary vein, and then left atrium to left ventricle by the help of valve, that is bicuspid valve, and from left ventricle to all the body, to all the cells, to all the tissues of it, that is done by aorta, and from the body to the right atrium by superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. There are two types, superior, inferior. From right atrium to right ventricle, that is done by tricuspid valve. From right ventricle to again to the lungs with the help of pulmonary artery. So this diagram is very much important. Okay, we know that if this is the heart, the left side and the right side partition is very important. Why it is very important? We know that here there is a oxygenated blood and here there is a deoxygenated blood. For the separation purpose, it is very important. Why it is so important means, if there is a particular separation, then there will be a high efficient of supply of the oxygen to the all over the body, and the oxygen can be supplied in a very particular way. Okay, we should know some of the things in vertebrates, that fishes and reptiles are cold blooded. They are cold blooded, and birds and mammals are warm blooded. वार्म ब्लडेड का मतलब क्या होता है? दे हैव टू मेंटेन देयर बॉडी टेम्परेचर. कोल्ड ब्लडेड का मतलब क्या होता है? एनवायरमेंट किसी भी टेम्परेचर के होता है ना, एनिमल्स भी वही टेम्परेचर में होता है. मतलब एनवायरमेंट इज़ 26 डिग्री. ओके, द इनर ऑल्सो विल बी एट 26 डिग्री ओनली, लाइक दैट. बट इफ birds and mammals case, it will be not like this. If the environment is 26 degree, it will be 30 degree. Okay, like there will be a difference, है ना. This is useful in animals which have high energy need, as birds and mammals, which constantly use energy because they have to maintain their body temperature, so they have to use the energy, some of the energy. In animals, they do not use energy for this purpose. For example, like reptiles and amphibians, they do not use. So for that purpose, they have three-chambered heart. They have three-chambered heart. So there is a separation between these two chambers, but there is a mixing in this chamber, this third chamber. So they can tolerate some of the mixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood over here. But when you come to the fishes, on the other hand, they only have two-chambered heart. Okay. When the blood is pumped to the gills, blood is pumped to the gills and it is oxygenated there, and they directly pass to all over the body, like that. Okay, in the fishes, they have only one circulation. Okay, in mammals or any other vertebrates, we have double circulation of blood. So this is known as double circulation. Why? Because for example, if you take the mammals, there are 4 chambers of heart, है ना? The blood is coming into the heart and going out to all over the body, and again coming in one cycle. It is coming 2 times into the heart. So for that purpose, we call this as a double circulation. So here is a very small topic, that is blood pressure. When we are talking with the blood pressure, the force that blood exerts against the wall of the vessel, we call that as a blood pressure. In the same way, you can give an example, like if there is a pipe, the water is flowing like this, but some of the water will flow and hit the pipe also. There some pressure is created. In the same way, in our body there are vessels. The blood is flowing like this. Some of the blood will hit the vessel wall. So that will create some pressure. So that is called blood pressure. We know that there are kinds of tubes like arteries, veins and capillaries. In that, arteries have greater pressure when compared to the veins and capillaries. Okay. We know that there are 4 chambers. These both are atrium and these both are ventricle. है ना? When the ventricle is filled with blood, and that blood have to go out of the heart, it have to contract itself, है ना? That is called systolic pressure. In the same way, when the ventricle is empty, the blood is coming into it, then the chamber have to be in a relaxed state. So that is called diastolic pressure. So you have to remember one thing, that is the normal systolic pressure is about 120 mm of Hg, and diastolic pressure is normal, which is 80 mm of Hg. It should be between this only. The blood pressure is generally measured. You have seen this equipment in the hospital like that, है ना? So that is called sphygmomanometer. This is very important question. It have been repeated so many times, है ना? हाई ब्लड प्रेशर इज कॉल्ड हाइपरटेंशन. हाइपरटेंशन में क्या क्या सिम्टम्स आता है? चेस्ट पेन होता है, हैंड शेक होता है, हैंड स्वेट होता है, टेंशन बहुत होता है, हेडेक शुरू हो जाता है, ऐसा. एंड इज कॉज्ड बाय द construction of arterioles, which results in increased resistance to blood flow. It can lead to the rupture of artery and there will be an internal bleeding. So you should not get any tension. So life is very smooth and you have to be in a very smooth and very straightforward. Don't take tension because of anything. Your life, your rule, just rock it. The tubes means the blood vessels. There are 3 kinds. We know that there are arteries, veins and capillaries. The arteries carry out the oxygenated blood and the veins carry out the deoxygenated blood, and the capillaries will be a mixed. Okay. But there is an exception in arteries where that is a pulmonary artery which carry the deoxygenated, and there is also exception in the veins which is pulmonary vein which carry out the oxygenated blood. Okay. If you consider this as a heart, the vessel which is going away from the heart is the artery. Okay. The vessel which is coming towards the heart, that is veins. Okay. Which is going away from the heart, they have to be pumped in a very force and in a very pressured way to all the organs. So the arteries are more thick and elastic when compared to the veins. But the veins also have the valves. Why they have valves? Because the blood flow should be in only one direction. There should be not like a backward flow like that. Okay. So this is artery and this is vein, and these artery have to reach every cell. So for that purpose they are divided again into a smaller section and again a smaller sections. Okay. That until a single thick cell it should look, then it is called a capillaries. Okay, these are capillaries, and these capillaries again join and they will join again to the veins vessel like this. If this is a capillary, if you think these are some cells and the capillary is very thin, so there will be an exchange of material here. Okay, this is what explained. Arteries are the vessels which carry blood away from the heart to various organs of the body. Since the blood emerges from the heart under the very high pressure, so arteries should have a thick walls and elastic walls. Veins collect the blood from different organs, bring back to our heart, and they do not need the thick walls because they are no under any pressure. Instead, they have valves to ensure that the blood flows in only one direction and reaching every organ and tissue. The artery divides into smaller and smaller vessels to bring the blood in every individual cells, and the smallest vessels have very one cell thick of the wall. They are called capillaries, and exchange of material happens like this, है ना? The capillaries then join together to the veins to convey the blood from all the organ and the tissue again to the heart and make it again the blood into an oxygenated. So this is what maintenance of platelets. What happens if this system of tubes develops a leak? If these vessels, these arteries, veins or capillaries got injured and they develops a leak, means what happens inside of the body? For that purpose, there are some members who helping us, that is called platelets. For example, if you got a very small injury and blood started to coming, right? Okay. But after this some time, the blood amount will be reduced, and after some more time the blood will stop because of these platelets. These platelets help in the clotting of blood at these points of injuries, and when there is a loss of blood and the pressure will be decreased, so the blood amount is decreasing, pressure is decreasing. So they would reduce the efficiency of pumping system. The heart pumping system is there. What is the function of heart? That is a pumping system. Efficiency will be reduced. So to avoid this, the blood has platelet cells which circulate around the body and which plug these leaks by helping the clot of blood at these point of injuries. This is the last topic in the transportation in human beings. And we have at one hand we have blood and the other hand we have lymph. There are another type of fluid in the transportation, that is lymph. Lymph has another name, that is called tissue fluid. Why it is called tissue fluid means, if this is arteries, okay, arteries are divided into small capillaries. Capillaries, we know that when the capillary is flowing, it flows through all the cells because there must be a supply of materials and exchange of materials between it, and it has some pores. Okay, it has some pores. Capillaries has some pores, and some of the plasma, protein and the blood cells escape from it and goes between the cells, between the intracellular space we will call, and that is called tissue fluid or a lymph. Okay, how the lymph looks means, it is same like plasma of the blood, but it is colorless and less proteins it has when compared to the blood. And this fluid which is lymph, cells होता है, यहाँ पर lymph होता है, that will come into a lymphatic capillaries, small capillaries होता है, to form the intracellular space, and they join a larger lymph vessels, and this larger lymph vessel which again join a larger vein. Okay, and our mission is successful now, and lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into the blood. Means what are the materials between the cells are there, it takes again to the blood and help us. That's it. So thanks for watching Deep Logic. So follow for more. Stay tuned.